that were with us last week, welcome back. For those who were not, welcome to the party. On screen, you'll see Amy Ballantyne. Amy's a personal health and wellness coach who had shared some great insights with us last week, and has also run similar seminars in other EY offices in Canada. Today's webinar is a new one, if I'm not mistaken, that focuses on workplace well-being, and something I think we could all appreciate some insights on, given the current working environment as we approach a full year under work from home. So as I mentioned earlier, have a look in the chat for a link to some resources that can help follow along with today's webinar. Not required by any stretch of the imagination, but just a good reference point throughout. Yeah, with that, I'll turn it over to Amy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the intro again and for having me back. It is my passion to be able to help individuals like you to feel more wellness, to feel more well-being in your lives. So let's jump right in. For those that don't know me, I am a health and wellness coach, and I deeply believe that every single person deserves to feel amazing every day. And one of those components is connecting to feeling more well-being at work, right? Because we spend quite a bit of our life working. So I wanted to share a story to open with you about a farmer. And this farmer has to drive 3 kilometers from his barn all the way out to the field where the cows are. Every single day, he drives there and back, creating these deep ruts. And one day, the farmer decides he's going to, take a slightly different path. I want to ask you, are you feeling in a bit of a rut in terms of your productivity, your focus, your overall health, your well-being? Something might connect with you today. And I want to ask you, are you feeling in a rut, and are you open? Are you ready? Are you willing to just turn that steering wheel a small shift? So the farmer decides that he's going to make a small shift. He's going to turn the steering wheel a quarter of an inch. And he's going to drive that 3 kilometer path. But we all know that even with that small shift of his steering wheel, he is ending up in a far different place 3 kilometers down the road. And that's what I'm inviting you to see, that some of these small shifts that we can make in our life, in our work, in our health, can make a big difference down the road. So the outcomes for today that I am going to be sharing with you: uncovering areas of workplace stress that may be holding you back, strategies to improve workplace well-being, and improving focus, efficiency, and time management, some strategies around that, because I deeply believe that when we have these things in order, we can feel less stress, less pressure, which equals to feeling better. So I want to invite you now, if you have downloaded the workbook, there is a page that has this short survey for you. But if you don't, having a pen and paper and taking this survey for yourself. Is your well-being important to you on a scale of 1 to 7? 1 being no way, Jose. 7 being yes, bring it on. What number would you give yourself today? And I do invite you to write these down, because this is a really great starting point for conversations to have with your team, with your direct supervisor, or with your people that you manage. You will find that in the conversations that I'm having with you today, the ideas, I really hope and encourage that you take these things and you bring them back to the team and have a deeper conversation, because I am just starting the conversation for you. How would you rate your level of stress? Now, I know it is busy season, so you can either rate this as a right now in this moment, or when it's not busy season. You decide, but make a little note there of what it is you're rating, because this is an important thing for the people around you to know as well. How much does your stress impact your work? 1 to 7. 1, not so much. I can rock it no matter how stressed I am. Or 7, holy smokes, I know that I am so unfocused, so unproductive when I feel the swirl of overwhelm. What number would you give yourself there? How much does your stress impact your home life? You know, it's interesting, before we were living and working in the same place, we often heard of the bringing work home with us, bringing that stress home with us. Now it's, you're here all the time, right? You're here in your own living space all the time. So how much does your stress from work impact your home life? 1 to 7. How often do you feel overwhelmed? 1 to 7. 1, very rarely. 7, holy smokes, turn it off. All the time. And again, this is a great starting point for a conversation with your manager, with the person who supervises you. I know that they would want to know about how you're feeling. How manageable is your current workload? And again, I realize this is busy season, but it's an important conversation. 1 to 7. How would you rate the level of pressure you are feeling? And this is an interesting one that we'll get into later, because pressure can also be perceived, right? As well as real. And how dedicated are you to improving your well-being? 1, nah, not that big of a deal to me. 7, I'm ready to take this up a notch or more. You know, what is the amount that you want to feel better? So talking about well-being, I felt like it was important for us to have a common language. What the heck does well-being mean? It is the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy. And this is where I would invite you to make a couple of notes, because this is you. More than anything, this webinar, different from the one last week, this one is encouraging you to be reflective so that you can move forward. So how do you feel comfortable in your life? How do you feel healthy? What does that mean to you? And I'm not going to give any more words there, because I want you to write down for you, what does feeling happy actually mean for you? For me, feeling healthy means that I can play with my kids. I can run up and down the stairs. I can participate in building this new office and not feel pain. I can put on my spring clothes and feel happy with that. What is feeling healthy? What does that mean for you? What does feeling happy mean? And I want to continue your reflection for one more moment on this one. I meant to turn on my timer here. I want to continue the reflection on this in terms of the state of well-being for your home office. What does it mean to feel comfortable working from home? So my story, my husband, just like all of you, started working from home for the first time last March, right? And he was in this little tiny room in the basement at this little tiny desk facing a corner, and it was the room where we hide all of our junk. Okay, it is supposed to be the spare room, but nobody ever stays. And the poor guy was like crammed in there for months, because that's what we had. But it became clear to us that he was freezing, and because he was freezing, he couldn't be as productive and as focused. So we needed to fix that, right? We got a space heater, got some slippers, we got a blanket, like we needed to make him more comfortable. So what are the things that are needed for you to help you feel more comfortable when it comes to your work space, your work environment? What about for feeling more happy? You know, I know EY is notorious for having, you know, a great Christmas party, great celebrations around your different exams. What are the things that you loved about being physically in the work office environment that you're feeling like you're missing? Did you used to celebrate birthdays and now maybe that's not happening? What are those things that if you were to communicate that, your level of happiness in the workplace would go up? Food for thought. So really looking at what, I feel like someone's unmuted. Impact of well-being within the workplace. So these are the areas where I want you to write down, how can you feel better in your working environment? Because let's face it, for some time we will be still working from home. And we get to create, I think it's an opportunity for us to really focus on what will create that more productivity and focus and well-being. We get the opportunity to choose this more now than ever. If you were always thinking when you were working at the office, oh, I never have any time to go for a walk, can you make that happen now? Is there the opportunity for that? Because now you're not spending the 15 minutes each way driving to and from work. You're going to carve out that same time to go for a walk before you start work, perhaps. It really does begin with creating boundaries. So thinking about the boundaries that you already have created, are there some others, or perhaps you haven't created any and you're still feeling a bit in chaos? We're all in different stages in this new change of life, right? This new way, this new reality we're in. So do you have specific hours you work, that you eat lunch, that you end the day with? Have you communicated those to the people that are important? Is this something you've had conversations about? What about creating boundaries around your home life so that you can be more focused with your work life? It all plays together, my friends. So if you're finding that you have a lot of responsibility in the home environment around cooking all of a sudden, and you're, all of the laundry or the cleaning has all been piled on top of you, have you assigned specific tasks to different people to share the load? Right? When we take off some of the stress and pressure from other areas of our life, we open up areas of focus in others. What about personal time alone for you? Have you created boundaries around this? I know this has been such a weird year, right? Living and working in the same place. And what if the one thing that you took from today was that you were going to start non-negotiable having 15 minutes a day to start just for you? What do you think that would do for your level of energy and your level of focus? I know that it would make a big difference, but it requires setting the boundary, being very specific and communicating that information, right? It's very, very important to get either back to what you knew was working for you, or to start with today is a new day and that you want to implement this new strategy. So getting right into this new workplace, we're going to talk about these 4 categories: workload, meetings, communication, and time off. So I want to ask you to consider, how are you managing your workload? Because of working from home, have you had to shift in your daily processes, the order of which you do your work? I know that you all, or many of you who do the audit, used to have to go to the client, and now that's not happening. So are there areas around your processes that still need to be tightened up and improved? This is an opportunity. Honestly, this is an opportunity for you to really think about, if we did X differently, it would show up so much easier in the way that you're doing things. And my goal here is, again, to get you thinking in the way of, I want to feel better, and maybe there's something that I'm saying that's triggering you to have a conversation with your superiors, with those managers who can actually help to implement these changes even faster. Technology support. If you're really struggling, because now we are on tech constantly, if you're struggling with something technology related, have you got that sorted out? Think about, if that thing worked better, maybe it's your computer you're having issues with. Maybe your email is having all sorts of problems. Maybe you cannot figure out for the life of you how to do something on Microsoft Teams more efficiently. and it is causing just that extra level of stress that puts you over the top. If you could fix something in your technology support, what would that be? And make a note of that so you can have that important conversation. Modification of goals. You know, we have had a whole year under our belts of this, and perhaps you started out with some big goals back last January that had to be shifted over this past year. As a team, you might have collective goals together. Have these goals been modified or shifted to reflect this current environment that, quite honestly, doesn't seem to be going away? What support do you require? Or what support does your team members require? If you're a manager on this call, or a senior manager, or a partner, if you are someone who manages people, what do the people that you serve and support, do they need? Have you been having these quality conversations? And maybe this webinar will open that dialogue up even further. Scheduling those non-negotiables first. I know that I've mentioned this before, but if I were to come to your house right now and look at your calendar, your agenda, would I see something for you, including personal, on that schedule? This is so critical for our well-being. Do you follow an agenda when you're on meetings? Is there a process, or do you find that there's certain meetings that you're in during the day that are not very productive? Prioritization. I wanted to share and remind people of Stephen Covey's quadrant because I have helped many individuals with reminding them of this tool. Sometimes we find ourselves in quite a state of overwhelm because there is so much going on and so many people pulling at us from so many different ways. I want to invite you to consider using this quadrant when your to-do list is 3 pages long and communicating with the people about what is absolutely the most urgent and important. Yeah. And perhaps creating for yourself a list of, quite honestly, maybe 5 at the most must get done items. Knowing that there's some other ones that are there that it would be great if they get done. And celebrate when those 3 to 5 things get done. Raises your energy, raises your why. So important. Yes. We have those things to celebrate. Celebrating with team members, with each other. And then of course, the quadrant, eliminating non-urgent, not important. Now that we're not working in the cubicle, we're not working in the office, there's no one to see how much time you're spending in the kitchen. Only you know. And that's just one example of something that's not. And maybe you're not. So many people we know have a lot of time spent in that area. So it might be worth it to download an app to your phone that tracks how much time you're.
Amy, could I just interrupt for a second? If you wouldn't mind just speaking a bit close to your microphone. Just some people are finding you're cutting out a bit. Thank you.
No, not again. Gotta love Teams. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Great. So we're going to move right along into systems that support your success. So I want you to think about what are the systems that you have that you know are working really well, and if there was anything that could be improved from your work, what would those be? Do you understand your high priority tasks? Is that clear? Or do you constantly find that you are missing the boat and maybe your manager or senior manager is like, why haven't you got this done yet? Do you have clear understanding of what those expectations are of you or from the partner, right? Do you understand those high priority tasks? Do you have a schedule? One of the things that has helped in our family and with a couple of other clients I've shared this with is rewarding those positive behaviors you want to see. So I want you to think about, you live where you work now, and for some people you have children or other people around you. How are you rewarding those people for the positive behaviors you want to continue seeing? I know that EY has done a great job in recognition Is that continuing? Are you doing that kind of system in your house? If you could reduce the stress that's happening maybe in your family life in some ways, will that open up some space and energy for your work? Absolutely. So in our house, we were finding that it was about end of January, the kids were really driving us crazy. And so I decided to implement a behavior positivity incentive for the kids. And it got us all talking and thinking about how can we show more kindness to each other. So this is me role modeling for you. Something was not working in our house, and it was causing a lot of extra stress that was impacting us in our work and in our whole life. So I created a strategy to start shifting those things. So is there something for you that you can implement in your house to help bring down some of the stress levels and create those positive behaviors you're looking for? And then, of course, what are your personal habits and what are the systems that help you with them? I have so many people who love taking supplements, but they have at the beginning said, I keep forgetting. That's about creating a system. What is the system that you have in order to be successful? You already know how to brush your teeth. I bet every single one of you brush your teeth today, right? So what are the strategies that make that a success? It's the thing you see, right? And you've made a habit around it. So if you want support with creating those habits, setting up some of these things within your house, please reach out to me. Systems save time and reduce stress. And this is a big part of our well-being, is recognizing that we don't live in silos, right? Our work life and our home life, we're impacted by both. And we were before we were working from home. Time management strategies, syncing your calendar together with other people. I know that this happens automatically for work, but does your calendar sync with your significant others, your partners, so that they know what is very, very important in your day so as not to interrupt you? So I have a big meeting that I do every single Thursday morning. And my family knows that this is not a time that I'm available. Absolutely not. Our calendars are synced. It's in there. So would that help you? Have you been having some miscommunications around things that around work that are not clear? Time chunking is another time management strategy that has helped many people to really think about, if you know that you have certain files that you need to review and it's going to take you, let's say 4 hours to get all of this work done, and you can only stay focused for about 30 minutes or 45 minutes before you're like, oh my God, just let me check Facebook or something because I just need a break. Give yourself some grace and actually time chunk yourself, meaning in your calendar on your phone or in your calendar, your paper calendar, however you work, that you actually set aside 45-minute chunks or 30-minute chunks, the amount of time that you know you are good at, and then get up, move your body, go outside for a couple of minutes, take some breaths, fresh air, maybe do a quiet breathing exercise, whatever the thing is that is going to allow you to get back to refocused, come back to your desk so you can get back to being right on task, right? We sometimes power through and this causes even more struggle than it's worth. Making sure that you're scheduling time for those income generating tasks, those key tasks. And then I already mentioned the time out for social. If you're feeling really distracted and you're having a lot of challenge with your focus, I've had a number of people that I've supported them in this with a specific nutritional product. So if that's of interest to you, reach out to me. But our nutrition impacts our focus and our productivity as well. If you're feeling really low energy. Do you have a list of non-negotiable to-dos? And do you write down the moment when you are, let's say, interrupted? You've been working on a file for some time, you've been working on a task for some time, and you know you need to keep doing this, but someone sent you a message that you need to deal with right now. How do you help yourself not go into this spiral of feeling overwhelmed and stressed and pressured? How do you help yourself? One strategy is to note down exactly where you left off, Or as we know, the long standing encouragement of when you get that great idea in the middle of the night, that you take a moment to write it down so you can actually let your brain rest. Notice this is a simple strategy, but very, very effective. Very effective for reducing our stress and for managing our time. So you know exactly where to pick up where you left off, or the next morning after you've had a nice clear sleep, you've got that idea written down and you're not trying to think in your head, oh, wait a second, what was I going to write in that email? It's far better to just get up, take 3 minutes, write out the thing you were trying to remember, and then go back to bed and just be calm with your mind and not try to hold on to the thing you're trying to remember. So I'm going to move along now into meetings. I touched on this a little bit, but we know that we are on a ton of meetings these days, with the frequency and duration being a significant amount of time. What are you doing to help you re-energize in between? Have you blocked off space between? Do you just know that you're going to get up and stand up and move your body and jump around and maybe do those stair push-ups and maybe do some squats, maybe go have a bathroom break? What is it that you're doing for that space between so you can come back and be very, very focused in your meetings? Have you blocked off time in your calendar for lunch? Or are you just kind of eating at your desk or not eating at all? I've helped a number of professionals actually who were finding that now more than ever, they're not getting lunch because they used to, as a group, as a collective, say, okay, it's lunch, let's go grab something, and everyone would leave the office and drive to that particular place, and they'd stand around and chit chat while they ordered their meal, and maybe they'd eat there, or maybe they'd bring it back, but they had that time. Now these people have been finding that they're barely making any time to eat. So I've helped them with a few strategies around that. Or maybe it's that you need to let off some steam and go for a walk. I had one client share with me, you know, Amy, she said, I used to walk with my friend, and then one week at lunch, and then one week we just stopped because she had a meeting that was non-negotiable that got scheduled, and then we just kind of forgot. And it was in that conversation that she remembered, wait a second, she couldn't figure out why they hadn't restarted again. They just kind of lost the habit. So sometimes we just need that reminder to get back to the thing or to start the thing that we know that might help. So it's beautiful and sunny in Waterloo. I don't know if it's sunny in London, but it is beautiful out. It's starting to become spring. Maybe taking a 10-minute or a 5-minute walk around your block or a couple of paces in front of your house would just help you clear your head and be back to focused. Thinking about that. Have you considered at all going back to the old school days of, instead of having all Zoom meetings or Teams meetings, having a quick phone call with someone? You know, you don't have to be on that way. I realize I'm the only one on right now in terms of a video, but with phone, that may reduce some of the overwhelm and stress that people are feeling by so many meetings, is to just have that quick phone call. Recognition and connection, we've already talked about this a little bit, but have you in some way been bringing back that amazing energy that I know EY has to your online meetings? Have you been bringing that enthusiasm into them somehow? Ways of energizing. Have you tried standing versus sitting for your meetings, or desk exercises? So I'm not sure if this is going to work, but let's see. This is a video. I want to invite you right now. I have no idea. Like right now, just scratch. I have no idea if you could hear that song, but you can tell me after. These are just some examples of how to re-energize in the middle of a meeting. Could you play a quick video, get everybody up, move their body, totally shake things up? I know that accounting is serious work, but I want to challenge you that you are all humans who need to re-energize. And if it meant that you would all be more focused and more productive, could you take 10 or 15 seconds out of a meeting in the middle of the meeting to give everybody a chance to stand up? Worth considering. Or desk exercises. Just note here with the one where you're going up against, you're doing the tricep dips, please ensure, notice her chair is up against her desk. If you do it the other way around, the chair will fly away. So make sure your chair is up against your desk and tucking those elbows in nice and tight. But this is an example that we can do mindful movement. We can do those movements that matter to get the blood flowing, to get our focus back and to re-energize. So moving along into communication. So talking a little bit about emails, reminding people that reply all is not always a great thing. If everyone doesn't need to be on it, you guys, I know, get hundreds and hundreds of emails. So it might be an important thing to have a conversation within your team. If you feel like you've been receiving a reply or a CC on something that really doesn't reply to you anymore and you want to reduce your email inbox, I know that this is a conversation that can make a big difference for reducing stress. One of my clients was sharing the other day, she said, Amy, I have 300 emails that I'm supposed to look at, and some of them I don't even need to see. And it was causing her a tremendous amount of stress. If you're feeling that way, have a conversation. Urgent versus non-urgent time of day. This is important to consider. I know it's busy season, so this is maybe a time of year that, you know, you guys work, I know you work really, really long hours. But in non-busy season, is there a boundary that's been created or that you feel you want to create that after 9 p.m. maybe, or 7 p.m. or whatever the hour is that you don't want to receive a text anymore or an app anymore for work, you know, WhatsApp or whatever you're using, that you communicate that. I really deeply believe that when we treat each other more as humans and when we look after each other's well-being even more and communicate how we're feeling and what's going on, we can show up in a bigger and better way. Do you have a good system for booking meetings? Do you feel like you're just constantly being booked all day and you have no control whatsoever? Is that a place that you need to communicate? And again, do you understand those clear expectations of you? Do you know when those clear deadlines are? Do you feel like things have just been piling up without a lot of information? Again, encouraging you to have those important conversations. And noting that in this amazing group of yours, of the team that you're a part of, there are so many different communication styles. And there will be some people in your team who work really well alone and they're very, very cautious and detailed and they follow direction well and they're very, very good at catching those small things. And there's other people who are the ones who are not afraid to take risk, to try new things. You know, there are different communication styles. And recognizing this can help us reduce our stress as well. If we're always, you know, feeling a certain way about one person's email, for example, that the tone of it is coming across really negative or sarcastic, maybe that's an opportunity to have a conversation just to let that person know that it's causing you stress. And some of the time, it probably will just be the person didn't even realize. But if it decreases your stress, think about your overall well-being and why those conversations are so important. Time off. Now is not the time, obviously, to take time off when you're in busy season, but are you ensuring that you are getting time away? I know that there is nowhere to go right now, but I still want to challenge you that taking time away is so important. Have you made a plan for delegating those responsibilities? What's the communication plan? Do you need to be held accountable to take time off? Or is this another reminder to make sure that you're getting some space away to clear your head, even if it's just to go for a walk, to go sit. I mean, there's so many beautiful places in London. There's so many beautiful places around London to go and just be and relax. Doesn't have to be a faraway vacation. So how do you recharge your battery? This is important, to really tune in and reconnect with things that maybe brought you joy a long time ago. I had a conversation with a client, it was back in, I think, January or so, and she was saying, you know what, Amy, I don't think I've had fun in over 9 months. She hadn't, she couldn't remember having fun. So we started diving into what does she actually find to be fun? And it came to be that she used to really love reading this type of book, and she really liked doing this type of challenge, like those Sudokus, but she hadn't done any of those things in months, just slipped her mind. So I'm encouraging you to take some time, maybe this evening, to think about when you were young, what did you like to do? When you were a teen, what did you like to do? When you were in your 20s, what did you like to do? Now, she laughed at me and said, well, I know what I like to do in my 20s. I love to party, but that's not really me now. I'm like, that's okay, but what were the things that brought you joy? Let's try and reconnect to that. So some key tips to remember here: focus on getting that good sleep. I know you heard me talk about this last week, but good sleep really makes a difference with our overall well-being, our focus, our ability to be productive at work. If you are just exhausted, are you really going to do that great of a job? So perhaps having a conversation about sleep might be a good idea. Eating those nutritious foods. Are you skipping lunch every day? Do you want help with that? Are you getting some time outside? What about reducing technology and media? Perhaps you're spending so much time taking in the news, the negative energy around that you want to have a small vacation from that, even, you know, a small media detox, let's call it. Perhaps it's that you want to get back into moving your body. And I know that you heard me last week talking about those stair push-ups. I would love to know, and I've already shared, I can't see the chat right now, but I would love to know after we're done if anyone has taken the stair push-up challenge, because already you would have quite a few push-ups done. Are you game for that challenge? What about your daily self-care routine? What does that actually mean to you? Do you always wash your face before bed? Or maybe you really like to check the sports news on Twitter for 15 minutes after watching the hockey game, and then you come upstairs and you read for a period of time, and then you start, your teeth brushing and all of that. If that fuels you and helps you to feel good, that's your self-care routine. You get to choose. What are you intentionally choosing? This is your life. You get to choose what you're doing with your time. So if you find yourself kind of going through the motions and you're like, you know what, the one thing I want to take away from this webinar is to make an actual routine that feels good to me. And that can include, checking out the sports stats. That's totally fine. But do it with intention. Make that your routine. So I wanted to close with 3 small daily changes that I deeply believe can help you manage stress. Number 1 is this stress mine. I posted on my Instagram, if you're on Instagram, it's Amy Valentine. I posted on my Instagram a picture of this, you're either on top of the world or you're feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And if the one takeaway that you took from this was, is this stress mine, and actually asking yourself in that moment if it's yours and can you do anything about it? How is it impacting you? I know that sometimes in a work or even a home life environment situation, we can get into a spiral of energy with another person about a stressful thing. This error was made, and then you talk with somebody about it, and then they get really worked up, and you can hear it in my voice, right? But stopping and saying, wait a second, is this stress mine? It can still be very important, but doesn't have to physically impact you. Like go inside you where we can feel our heart like palpating. Think about that. Number 2 is learning to say no. Trust me, I'm a work in progress in this too. But we generally all take on too much. We have said yes to so many things in our inbox. We've said yes to so many things for volunteering, and we just say yes at work all the time, and whatever the areas that you need to work on. But maybe, just maybe, saying no and finding someone else to take it on. The quote that really connects with me on this is, sometimes I have to say no to the good stuff in order to say yes to the great stuff. So it doesn't mean that some of the things that might come across your plate aren't good and might be really good opportunities. But in doing that, what are you giving up? That's great. Something to think about. And then last but not least is deep breathing, the concept of progressive muscular relaxation and meditation. Absolutely key. If you decided today to start putting a note even on your laptop that said, take 3 deep breaths, and every time you look down at it, you just stopped and took 3 deep breaths. I mean, like, this would go a long way. And I can't see you, but I want you to play pull out with me right now. And I want you to squeeze your shoulders up really, really tight. Really tight. Hold it up there. Really tight, really tight, really tight, and relax. And notice how that feels. This is the concept called progressive muscular relaxation. And now I want you to squeeze your hands really tight. Squeeze, 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 and relax. And the belief here is that when we really tense up our muscles, we actually feel a deeper sense of relaxation when we release that contraction. So taking a few minutes to contract your shoulders up, or perhaps to squeeze your bum cheeks. Squeeze your bum cheeks. Squeeze, 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 and relax, right? To just take those few minutes to do these things for yourself can go a really long way. And of course, reminding you that you have access to free meditations that are live Mondays and Fridays at 1 p.m. if you want to join me at that group, or months and months of recorded meditations that are there for you to listen to whenever you want. Another app that I really like for your phone is called Insight Timer. Insight Timer is a free meditation app. I have a few meditations on there as well, but there are many, many hours of guided meditations or just music that you can turn on in the background to help you reduce your stress. So in wrapping up today, we talked about well-being within the workplace in terms of workload, meeting, communications, time off, creating those strong daily habits, and managing stress. And it is my deep hope that there was something that you took away from this presentation that you're either going to have a conversation about or you're going to focus on implementing for yourself. Know that every single person has experienced crazy change this year. You're not alone. And if you want to dive deeper into any of these things to improve or focus on your confidence, your communication, your time management, all of these areas, I'm here and I'd love to offer you that free 30-minute consultation, because quite honestly, all of these aspects impact our well-being. And if I can help you in a small way feel even better, because I believe you deserve to feel amazing every single day, I'd love to do that. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks very much, Amy, for joining us again today. Lots of great ideas and tips as to how we can, continue to navigate this challenging working environment that we're in. Thankfully, we're coming out of the winter, as you mentioned, and it is a sunny day here in London, so I have that in common with Waterloo. But I think we still have a bit of a slog ahead in terms of being away from one another. So some great things to consider going forward. Awesome. And yeah, thanks again, and we look forward to connecting again, I think in a couple weeks.
I would love that. And if anyone wants to just quickly type in the chat what your biggest takeaway was, I'd love to hear it. Or unmute. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. I only get to see Andrew's face. I'm not even getting to meet any of you other London people. But it was so great to be here again.
Thanks very much.
Have a great day.